Good morning, New Century Church. I'm Peter Givens, and I trust that each of you is following the rules that we've been given. You're being safe, and above all, that you're trusting in Him. This is another edition of our twice a week outreach designed to offer encouragement, a virtual touch, if you want to think of it that way, during these bizarre and frankly abnormal times that we're going through. And as I use the word abnormal, I'm reminded of something that I used to hear. Normal is just a setting on your dryer. So think about that. One of the things that I'm so aware of as the days go by is the vast amount of information. You can call it overload if you want, coming our way almost hourly. There is some new graph, some new chart, a new press release, a new identified hotspot, an updated level of quarantine or lockdown, some new opinion on the spread rate, and on and on and on it goes. I even found a church liturgy to read when, quote, overwhelmed with information, unquote. It's exhausting just to try to comprehend and to take it all in. I did find one post to be pretty practical for us, though. Normally at our house, we would have the NCAA basketball brackets posted on our refrigerator. Ours, those from our sons, those from our daughters-in-law, and occasionally even some from our grandchildren. But in place of that, this year, we have posted something I found on the internet. You can find it too. It looks like this. It's called Daily Quarantine Questions, serving as a reminder of 6 things to ask ourselves each day. What am I grateful for? Who am I checking in with or connecting with during this time? What are the expectations of normal that I need to let go of? Am I getting outside today? How am I moving my body today? And what beauty am I creating, cultivating, or inviting in today? But as all of this overload of information comes our way, we do need to be discerning, don't we? We look at these things, we have to ask ourselves, where does this information come from? Who is the author? Is it a reputable source? Can it be trusted? Is it useful? And asking these things is helpful and maybe even helps us keep our sanity. But what I've also been aware of is, thankfully, we do not have to ask these same kinds of questions before finding comfort in God's Word. Now, discernment of another kind is important, and I understand that, but not where does this information come from? Who is the author? Can it be trusted? Will it be useful? God is the author, it can be trusted, and it is always useful. We've been amazed in our home how God has brought new truths to us from scriptures that we've read over and over and over before. New truths that have always been there in the text, but now, in the midst of this economic and the health issues of the day, they just jump off the page, so to speak, in a way that we've never taken notice of before. Psalm 91 is a great example of this. One of my favorite Psalms, one that I have, again, read many, many times, taken comfort in, but in these days, I find it speaks a different reality, a new relevance to what's going on in the world. The author speaks of pestilence and plagues and destruction. He speaks of thousands falling around us. And these are words that we're finding not around the world in some isolated country that is used to or where such things are common, but we're finding that here at home, in America, in Virginia. And then the words then that the author in Psalm 91 speaks in seeking God's protection take on new meaning as well. Even as we disinfect our countertops and we put on our latex gloves to go out, or we wash our hands, the importance of such phrases as living under the protection of the Most High, or dwelling in the shadow of the Almighty, or trusting God as my refuge and my fortress. In verse 4 of Psalm 91, he says, he will cover you with his feathers. He will take refuge. You will take refuge under his wings. His faithfulness will be a protective shield. In the last few verses of this psalm, it is now God who is speaking to his devoted follower. And listen to these words of encouragement. And notice who's doing all of the work. I will deliver. I will protect. I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will rescue him. I will give him honor. I will satisfy him. And then the psalm ends with God saying, I will show my salvation. God is sovereign. And even though it may seem that things are spinning out of control, he will use pestilence, plague, destruction, all these things that the psalmist talks about in here to show his salvation. So let's be encouraged by those words. Better yet, let's be partners with God, a part of his work in showing and witnessing his salvation to those around us who don't know him. So please pray for our church, especially for the church staff. Don't forget that the church finances still need to be part of our priority as best we can during these troubling times. This is critical right now. Follow the rules you've been given. Be safe. And above all, trust in God. Love you, church.